Hey guys, welcome back to our real life scenario. Shout out to all our real lovers out there. We are back another week. Did you enjoy your Christmas?
I did. Quiet. Just the way I wanted it.
Quiet storm.
Just the way I wanted it. Nice and quiet. Went to the movies with my mommy.
Okay.
Yes. So it was great. It was great.
Awesome.
Did you enjoy your Christmas?
Yes, I always do a family brunch with my family. I had two brunches back to back. One with one side of the family on Saturday and one or the day before Christmas Eve Christmas Eve, and then had one with my family on my other side of the family on Christmas. So
nice.
Full of brunches. And brunches is always good because it's not too heavy. You know, it's good. You got the rest of the day to do stuff and relax and all that. And my family is a chill family. I don't have no drama, not a lot going on. It's always good time.
No fights in the backyard.
Nah.
Yeah, no unresolved beefs from previous Christmas.
Yeah, nah. And I'm happy because my nieces, all they getting is hugs because last time I got them something last year, they did not appreciate it. And if they ask me, it's going to be a great life lesson to teach them about appreciation and how to show it.
There you go. Bye-bye. Assertive communication, Dre. I like it.
Assertive. Let them know. Learn a lesson for you. You ever heard of tough love? Well, I'm going to show it to you.
Here we are. We've reached this point in our relationship
where it's time for you to understand what this means.
Yeah.
But yeah, Christmas is always great. And it's for me at this age is just spending time with family. So
that's right.
That's a great time. About. For sure. So I want to talk to our real lovers right now. First, telling people if you're a new listener here, subscribe,
Yes, first of all,
review.
Welcome.
Yeah,
then do all this stuff.
The doors of the church are open. All visitors, please stand. Can you please stand?
Come on down. We want to clap for you. Welcome. It's literally like when you went to church and they would give you work immediately.
For
like
sure.
Here's the workbook. We need your phone number. We're gonna call you.
Did you ever go to the church to where they would ask the visitors to speak?
No.
Oh yeah, my church they did that.
No.
And
I've been to a church where they have you say how'd you get here, where you might be from, but that was it.
Yeah, because I was at that church, and black people in a black church sometimes when you give us the mic, boy, we see it as an audition. It's almost like when you go to a sorority or frat event and people gotta do the roll call, and it's like, we have our visitors, brother to the left, can you get them the mic? Where are you coming from? I'm coming from greetings from
giving
the Lord.
Giving all honor and praise on this day for my life in Jesus.
All glory and honor to the Lord Jesus for giving me this day. I come from the Greater Saint Baptist, Greater Latter-day Saints Church of Jehovah Witness.
Yes.
With Pastor Dr. Reverend
Bishop
Grant Lee III. Bringing all greetings from them, and I'm glad to be here with this amazing church family today. I'm invited by my lovely sister Barbara, and it's like
we haven't gotten nothing that we asked you for yet. You still just announcing who you are. Got it? Okay. Yeah. No, please.
Ooh, black church loving some cliches.
Love it.
This is the day the Lord has made. But what were we even talking about? Visitors? I don't even know.
We talk about welcome to the new listeners.
Yes, welcome to the new listeners.
Welcome
visitors,
to our church.
You can sit down.
Yes.
But thank you for coming to Real Love Scenario. We get a little sidetracked sometimes.
Just a little bit. We're having fun though. That's what matters.
We do have fun. But I want to shout out one of our real lovers. If you're new here, make sure you write a review, and we'll read your review out on this show. So we got one of our real lovers, Tip for Life.
Yes.
Tip for Life first. I want you to DM me too, because I need to invite you to something that we're gonna have, especially for something, because you're a real lover for sure.
Yes.
But Tip for Life, she's left a review before. She even wrote in a scenario before. But Tip for Life said, in this one, y'all miss me. Hey, gorgeous and handsome.
Hey.
I guess I'm handsome and you gorgeous. Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay, Rhonda, Dre. Hey, gorgeous and hi, handsome. I'm still here faithfully every episode, and I can't get enough. I need at least 10 episodes weekly. Ooh. Yes, y'all that good. Thank you. This podcast is just a whole vibe, but please hear me out. I need y'all to plan a trip to Florida. I can't come to any of the events because they are so far from my job, and my job literally slays me. So vacation is not in my book at the moment. I'll be waiting for y'all. Yours truly, your number one fan. See, I thought that Rhonda was going to give an amen to my job slaves me.
Listen.
I thought Rhonda was going to be like, well.
I ain't got nothing to say on the matter on this episode, but maybe in the future one. But I feel you, Tiff. Baby, you need to get you a new job. Okay? You got to have some vacation in your future, baby. You do.
For sure.
But we got you.
We got you. You got to tell us we're in Florida. Florida, big state now. You know that.
It is.
We go to North Park, Jacksonville, South Park, Miami. Like, it's a lot
right,
of places
we could
to go.
still come to Florida and you wouldn't be able to come.
You'd be 7 hours away.
Right, exactly. So tell us where you are. But thank you for the love. Thank you for being our number one fan. Thank you for wanting more episodes. Maybe one day. We'll get there. Not 10. You're not going to get 10 in a week.
No, that would be a lot.
Yes.
But I think, there's some other real lovers. She said she the number one.
Okay.
So, I don't know how some people feel about that. Yeah, you might be like, I'm the number one.
I'm okay with it. Ain't nobody else stepped up to the plate.
Okay.
So
but it's our number one fan. We
as
making
of now,
list.
she's the undisputed number one fan.
I love it. Thank you for writing in. And like we said, please leave a review. We'll make sure to read it out on the show. And we're gonna have some cool ways for you guys to interact with the show more going into next year. So.
Well, I have a question for you. Speaking of next year,
okay,
it's my turn to flip it.
Oh,
I got a question for you.
Okay,
it's not gonna be too tough.
It's a random question.
Yes, it is.
Random question.
Yes,
from Rhonda.
It is. Y'all, it's usually Dre. If you've been here, you know that Dre usually has the surprise random question.
Okay.
But as the year comes to an end,
yes,
and we're about to head into the new year,
yes,
what are you most proud of this year? Maybe one or two things that you just are like so happy that you accomplished in 2023.
Wow. Great question. Number one, I guess, is my position at Urban One.
Okay.
I think that's a major accomplishment. I did not, for those who don't know, I run the podcast network at the head of podcasting at Urban One, which is the largest Black-owned media company in the U.S. Urban One owns TV One, Radio One, Miss Cleo TV, a lot of digital brands, Hello Beautiful, Madame Noir, stuff like that.
Yes.
So being able to accomplish that at the age of 29, without taking a truly traditional route to that, didn't go to school for all that stuff and just came from basically experiences and all that stuff. I'm very happy to have accomplished that.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool little feather to have in my cap.
Mm-hmm.
And what else did I accomplish this year? I think that this show growing is really dope. And having our first guests, like we had like our big guest episodes and having people come on. So that was a huge accomplishment because you have something, you believe in it, you see it do well, but then to have other people who are willing to join in on it and want to be a part of it, I think is really cool and really dope. So I would say those two things for me.
I love it. Those are two things to be really, really proud of. Really, really proud of. Well, good. Easy enough.
What about you?
I would say in relationship restored, the thing that I'm most proud of is that we did our first event.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes, that we had our very first live event, and it was so good, and it was a great turnout, and that high just lasted for days and days and days.
Wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It really, really was. So that was amazing. And I would say, personally, the thing that I'm most proud of this year is that I didn't lose my mind. Because there were lots of things that happened that could have made that happen, for sure. This was a tough year for me emotionally and personally. And day over day, I persevered and pushed through it. And I'm very, very, very proud of myself for doing that. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, there were other little things for sure, but those are the two that I think I'm the most proud of.
Yeah, that's awesome. I forgot about the first event. Yeah, first event. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, we had a blast.
So you want to get to our real life love scenario? I'm gonna let Rhonda
introduce this one. Well, I saw our boy Kirk Franklin, a staple in the gospel music community, Uncle Kirk, as those of us who grew up on Kirk would probably call him. He's big Unc Kirk for sure. But he was recently on Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp's podcast. He was a guest, and they had some conversation about relationships, and he talked about 50-50 and how does Kirk feel about that. Kirk said he old fashioned, he want to pay for everything. They talked about first dates and how that should work in his opinion. And then he also kind of talked about singleness and how he thinks or how he feels that not being married is not necessarily a sin. So I wanted to just kind of talk about his thoughts on all of those things and just see what you think about that. First, the 50-50 thing, the conversation that, to be honest, I'm tired of having, very tired of having that conversation.
Well, I think that the issue is that sometimes we have these conversations, which is fine, with individuals who are high net worth earning men. So every man, if they can cover everything, a lot of times would love to cover everything. Especially if this is not a relationship that came like later in life, because Kurt's been with his wife for a
very long
time.
Yes, I think 30 years.
Yeah, I feel like if you both met at 45, you both have your individual lives, different things going on, then that might be a little bit more challenging. Especially if you have people that you're taking care of, they have people that they're taking care of, like that's a little different. But I think that when we ask this question to somebody like a Kirk Franklin, of course, if he has the means and ability to take care of everything, yes.
Yeah.
And then also when you have somebody who's that high, like is a high earning, high net earning like individual, sometimes it's even beneficial for one of the partner, especially if it's more of an entrepreneurial endeavor, to be in support of those efforts, because that's just the main thing. So it's almost like they're both in the business of whatever that career the person has together.
Yeah.
And even when we talked to Bunny and Pink about that, she was just like, I have my pursuits and stuff like that, but everything he was doing was taking off. So it's like my focus was supporting him and what he was doing. So like I manage his social media. I, make sure he has his things packed, he's on time for this and that. And she becomes part of the machine that is helping them all. So I understand that if you're in that position, but I think in the everyday person, that although a man would love to do that, the ability to provide the life that you would want, it's just more beneficial to have both people contributing to the household. Right. Like I could cover everything, but serve sandwiches, ham and cheese, bologna and cheese. The vacations you want to go on, we may not be able to go on. The restaurants you want to go on, we may not be able to want to go on.
Right.
But if like, let's say the guy makes 150, which is a very decent living. If she even made 95, adding that to the 150 provides a completely different life than him just supporting both on the 150.
100%.
So I think for the everyday person, especially where housing prices are now and just the cost of everything, inflation, like for most people, the everyday person, you'll be better off both contributing. Now, what is that 50-50 completely? I don't know.
Yeah.
But both contributing to the bills, to the expenses, to the finances, I think would make more sense in the situation. Have a high earning man, then it's more realistic because you could do everything under his salary. But for most people, I don't think.
Yeah. And I think that's why I've grown very tired of that conversation, because it's nuanced. Even two high earners may not, or the man is a high earner and she's a high earner too, maybe not as much as him. The dynamic could change in that household. We talked about and covered earlier this year when Gabrielle Union came out and said that they are 50-50. Like people wanted to break down what they thought that meant, or that, they both, Dwayne probably takes care of the household and then they split out other things with other people's households. But what she said was what she said. And he's a high earning man. It could be that he wanted to and she said no. It could be that she was like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to actually contribute because I can. I grow tired of it just because it's whatever works for y'all. Like whatever lifestyle that you want to have and your money can support it, or your money needs to support it dually, then just do that. Like just figure out how to have the lifestyle that you want between the two of you, even if that means only one of you is actually financing it. Whatever works for y'all, works for y'all. Kurt said he's old fashioned, but he's also older. Kurt is in his 50s, probably like late 50s.
53.
Yeah, early 50s. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this man's parents would have been born in probably like the 40s, 50s, maybe. Yeah, so I mean, not surprised at all. But yeah, y'all do what y'all want with y'all money, please, and just don't argue about it. Figure that part of it out. So then he moved on to talk about dates.
Yes.
and first dates. And Shay asked him, where should you take a woman on a first date? And his response was, you should ask her where she wants to go for the first date. Do you agree?
No.
Yeah, me either.
I don't think any woman would want to be asked. I think that a lot of times when we are courting somebody or first getting to know somebody, we communicate through text, maybe phone. And I think that you can learn more about that person through that conversation. And maybe you can ask some questions that's not directly asking where they would want to go, but you can just figure out what they're into, and then catering the date around that, I think would be a better bet. So that should be able to give you some insight into what they like. Like if somebody says they like live music and they really like jazz music and stuff like that, I'll be like, okay, in my head, we can go to Blues Alley in Georgetown. Either we can eat there or we can listen to the jazz, maybe have a drink or go to dinner first and then hit the jazz club after. But I'm catering around that what the person told me that they like.
Yes.
Or if they say they don't like something or don't enjoy something, then, if they say like, I just hate being in DC, the traffic is just crazy. And you may not take them there for the first time because you're sitting in you might try something different. So just listening to somebody when you're in that beginning phase before taking them out, I think should be able to give you enough information and a hint on what they would like to do or not like to do.
Yeah, I agree. I just think you pay attention, you ask certain questions, and if all else fails, I think that it's a first date. So you should go with something that is potentially just generally accepted. I think sometimes women might put too much pressure on how much this needs to stick the landing. Like this needs to be the best, highest impression. And it's like, I think the impression part needs to come from the experience with the person, not so much where you go. And so I feel like there's just sometimes way too much pressure put on the place that you choose to go on the first date. Go somewhere that could be, again, generally accepted. You want to know about things that could be harmful to the person. Like if they're allergic to seafood, you should know that. If they are a vegan, you should know stuff like that so that you're not choosing fogo de chao to take a person who doesn't eat meat. Like that's just, but you just need some precursory things out of the way. And then just try to show up as your best self, focusing on where you want to go versus the connection that you want to build, I think is very problematic. We just get too caught up in he's taking me to a Michelin star restaurant. It's like, but what if he sucks as a person? Like, what if the conversation stinks? What if y'all don't talk? So you had a really good meal, which is cool and all, but I want to go on a date where I feel good when it's all said and done, somewhat regardless of where we went.
I don't think I've ever heard a successful relationship that was like, you know what? When they took me to that Michelin star restaurant, it was it.
That was when I knew.
It was like, no, that's not a thing.
No.
And in my thing, first, I have two things on this and we can move to the next thing he said. Number one is I am mad at you creeps out there. You creepy, just nasty criminal thugs that do the crazy stuff that y'all do to women. Because in the courting process, I love the surprise thing. Like the being able to pick somebody up, she doesn't really know where we're going, and you can like I said, pulling up to a jazz spot, that would be something that she wouldn't even think. But I remember that you say you love live music, and you pull up and it's like, this is an experience I didn't even know what I was getting into, but now you creepy dudes messed it up. So now I gotta tell her, if I was still dating, where to meet me.
Yep, because she's not gonna let you pick her up.
She's not gonna let me pick her up.
Ain't come to my house on no first date, crazy man. I don't know you.
I gotta tell her where we're going.
So she can text her friends to make sure you're not creepy and crazy. Go ahead.
That takes away from the
Yep.
the dreaminess and fun part of dating, especially as a man. So I can't stand y'all.
Y'all killed it.
Y'all messed it up.
Yeah, that's so true.
And then I want to date a woman who's dictating, let's say, where to eat off of her taste buds, not off of social media or anything of that nature.
Right.
Like, I'm okay with you not liking Taco Bell, but don't like it because it's nasty.
Right.
Like, don't not like it because this is Taco Bell. Like,
Right.
No, I ain't better. Like, you might not like it. If you say, I don't like Taco Bell, I don't like the burritos, it's nasty, but you give me a Baconator, boy, I'll tear Baconator up, and the Frosties. Like, I'm okay with that. And I'm glad that my wife is that type of person person where she likes the finer things, but also she like
casual.
Yeah, like
yes.
I'll take a Chipotle burrito or like a Taco Bell taco in a second. And it's because driven by the taste buds, not necessarily like
how much it costs.
Yeah, I'm not eating here. And I understand that there's, you know, times where we do things, birthdays, celebrate, you do something nice. But yeah, let's dictate it off of what you actually like, what tastes well, what tastes good versus like it has to be this thing. Because then after the first date, what happens then? And then the second date, what happens then?
Right.
We gotta keep eating at these Michelin star restaurants.
When you may not, if you can afford that and that is really the lifestyle, then cool. But
it's just not. Let's be real. You ain't getting full eating them.
These
quarter
the
scallop
film
size,
over the caviar with a single fried scallop with the microgreen on top of it. It's like I ate this in 30 seconds. And this is the course? This is not a course.
No.
This was not a course.
I'm still hungry.
Yeah. Run me through the Checkers drive-through before you drop me off. I'm going to need me a mozzarella stick.
For sure.
Order, please. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So anywho, moving on to the last thing that he talked about, which was kind of a lot of things, but it kind of rounded out to marriage. And Shannon was like, you know, do you think that people should be dating with the intention of marriage? And Kirk was like, no, I just think you should, when you decide the first date, you should just be trying to go on the date and see what happens. And if marriage comes, then it comes. But he felt like that, like we put so much pressure on people to get married because that is supposed to be like a purpose-filled thing. And he's like, and marriage is great. It's beautiful. Obviously, he's married. But he's like, it's not the end all and be all of life. And then he went on to say, not getting married is not a sin. So just wanted your thoughts on that, what you think about it, because it was a little tricky how he worded it.
Yeah, I don't know if the church would endorse that message, but I get what he was trying to say. It's not the end all be all, and you don't want somebody's identity to be wrapped in their ability to connect with another person.
Yes, to the point of legal marriage.
To the point of legal marriage.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is that we as people, I think we all desire partnership in some way, or companionship, I should say. Some people find it in animals, some people find it, but we all, you know, some people find it in AI generated things that we've learned.
Yes, they do.
In one of our real life love scenarios. But I think we all desire companionship. So I think that it's only natural that if somebody says this is the ultimate commitment of companionship, that people would desire that and want that. And marriage is awesome. I say it, being a married man, it's an amazing thing. And there's even studies out there for men that men who are married achieve their goals, you know, generally do better when it comes to even their careers and things like that. So it definitely is an advantage. But I do believe that what he said in that, you know, you shouldn't tie your identity to that or your success in life to that.
Yes.
That it's not, like he said, the end all be all in your life. And even if you're not married, you can still be a great person. You can still accomplish some great things. You can still be happy.
Absolutely. Of course.
And still hope for marriage and to find a partner, but it's not mean that you're some type of failure in life. So I do believe that for sure.
Yes. I think the tricky part of it is when you say marriage is not a sin, or not getting married is not a sin. That's very true. You could never get married in your life and never actually be in a long-term relationship. And so you're not sinning. The way that the Bible defines sin around that particular dynamic is when you're living together, having sex, creating a family.
I don't say nothing about living together. I checked that.
I'm sorry, but I mean, typically you would be living in the same household. Yes.
Having sex and stuff.
Having sex and all the things, having children and all the things. And in that design, if you are doing that without the covenant of marriage, those things are sin. Fornicating is sinful. Not being a parent to a child that was born outside of wedlock, that's not a sin. It's really just the act of sex without the covenant of marriage that is the actual sin. I don't even think the world was progressed enough to say that being in a relationship and living with that person is a sin. I don't like, because it really wasn't a thing. Most partners were in fact married. So that wasn't a thing in whatever BC and whatever AD. It just wasn't. That was very uncommon. So I get what he's saying. I really do. And I think it's a complicated conversation because the world is so progressed today. I have said many times I want to be married, and I do want to be married. But I don't want to feel like if I don't, I'm a failure. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want people judging me because I don't have a husband right now. It's like, you 40 and you not married. Like, that's one of the first things people try to shoot at me about if I say something about dating, or even the fact that I have a podcast and I sit here and talk about relationship advice. Don't take relationship advice from her. She's single. What can she tell you about relationships? It's like, am I not able to be intelligent and speak on something and have research and lived experiences, and I have to actually have a husband in order to do that?
It's so funny. A lot of the people who are the relationship experts of today's time are well known. A lot of them are not married,
right?
Not or divorced before or something like that. So I think somebody giving insight on something or being able to take observations and articulate them in a way that can be helpful to others doesn't always require them to, be in that situation right at this moment.
Exactly. And people being married also doesn't mean that they inherently can give that. A lot of what we do is also research based. Like, you can't be a engineer without getting some educational engineering. You have to actually figure it out and do some research. So I feel you, Kirk. I feel you.
And this goes perfectly into our real love scenario.
It does. Are you ready to get into this?
I am.
All right. We hear from Anonymous again. Anonymous says, I hope this letter finds you well. I have been a faithful listener of your show and have greatly appreciated the messages and guidance you share. However, now I find myself in need of some guidance now for my very own scenario. I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 2 years, and we recently found out that we are expecting a baby. We didn't plan this pregnancy, and it came at a bad time, but we agreed to keep the baby and work on our family. While we initially agreed that marriage was not necessary at this point in our lives, his parents have now put pressure on him to get married, or they will have nothing to do with him or the child. This sudden change has caused a lot of tension and conflict between us, and in a wild turn of events across 4 days, he has now decided to step back from the pregnancy and disconnect all communication from me until I have the baby or until I agree to marry him. I'm heartbroken and unsure of what to do next. Any advice or guidance would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Anonymous.
Thank you, Anonymous. And I'm sorry that you're going through that.
Yes. Now, I will say, what I just read was an extremely compacted version of what was submitted. So we will talk through some of those points as we talk through this scenario.
We want to start, Rhonda?
Man, I think, again, coming straight off of that real life love scenario, just thinking about how you define family and structure, and really, do you feel that marriage is necessary or a requirement once a baby is introduced into a relationship dynamic?
Oh man, it's a hard thing. Should you, let's start here. Should you get married before having a child, or is that necessary? I think there's a lot of ways to get to a specific destination. I prefer the path of least resistance, right? And I think that if you go about marriage, I feel like the right way, prepare for it, and you have two parents in a home and they choose to have a child and they are intentional about their child and their relationship. Personally, I think that's the best environment for a child to grow up, as they're, getting older and stuff like that, to become the best person that they could possibly be.
Right.
Is it possible that outside of that situation that it can happen? Of course. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways to get to a destination. I'm talking about the path of least resistance, the path that I feel like will leave you with the least bumps and bruises. I feel like that is the best path, in my opinion. Now, what are people going to say? Oh, there's a lot of people who are married and marriage got this, and X amount of percentages of marriage don't last, and kids who are married doesn't always equal this according to this study. Now we get into what is marriage and how is it intended to be versus what people are how people are acting in marriage now, right?
Yeah.
For instance, I can tell you vegetables are great for you. Mm-hmm. And off what I said, vegetables are great for you, that is a true statement in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But people will hear that, and there are people who overcook the veggies and lose the nutrients. Yep. There are people who add bacon and lard and all that stuff in the vegetables to make it unhealthy. Mm-hmm. And people who change how they eat and consume vegetables based off of their own ability to make it palatable for them. It still doesn't erase that vegetables are healthy, but they twist it and turn it to be something that it wasn't intended to be.
Yeah.
But then if you loop in the whole thing and say like, oh, well, they were eating vegetables and they died from a heart attack, so how could it be healthy? But how were they eating the vegetables?
Right.
Was it the way that it was intended to be eaten, mm-hmm. or did they put all this stuff in it to make it something that it wasn't supposed to be? Right. And I say the same thing about marriage, is that a lot of people put their own stuff in it, own flavor, own mm-hmm. thing on it to make it something that it ultimately isn't. And then we wonder why it fails. And just because somebody is married, we know a lot of people who are married who are not in great relationships.
Yep.
But they're married legally. Mm-hmm. And that gives a bad name to the people who are happily married and trying to do it the right way and do it intentionally. Mm-hmm. So then that name, what marriage means, loses its like mm-hmm. feel of what it's supposed to be, and how amazing it is, because you have these people diluting mm-hmm. the meaning because they are trying to add their own thing into it. So with that all being said, like I said, I think that marriage is the path, if you do it the right way, is the path of least resistance. A lot of times it's best for the child to have the both parents to understand like how to operate as an individual as well. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're a guy, your father can teach you how to be a man. Your mom could tell you what women expect from men. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's just a really great environment if it's done the right way. But obviously somebody like you're a great person. You didn't have that environment. So there is a way that you can get there without it, but you would say that you had some bumps and bruises along the way.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And I had a man in my life who was like my stepdad, who was a great father figure to me and remains a great father figure to me. I didn't get to, meet him and have that relationship with him until I was like 13 or 14, but still he came in a great time in my life, and like I said, remains a constant in my life, and I'm very thankful for that. I will be really honest. I think probably in the last like 2 to 3 years have started to have so many, I guess, thoughts around like marriage being necessary. It doesn't change the fact that I want it, but I also understand in part why I want it. And it has a lot to do with us showing a sign of true and lifelong commitment. Do I think that you can get that without the covenant of legal marriage? Yes, I do think that there are people who have a covenant and a lifelong commitment to each other without going and buying a marriage license and going before an ordained minister and making vows and promising based on biblical teachings that they will stay together through this, through that, until death do us part. Yes, there are people who do that life without that. You know, there are celebrities that do it, tons of people that do it, and they seemingly do it very well. And so I think more than anything, needs to be almost like a separation around like the spiritual dedication to marriage versus the business and practical and life experience to marriage. I think both have extreme benefits. But I also can understand, like you say, where people will be like, well, I don't need all of that. Like, I just don't need it. And if you don't need it and it's not for you, cool. But like for me, when you say the path of least resistance, I think about, when it comes down to tough decisions, like when we are getting potentially to health issues, or we're coming to the end of our life, where just because of the country that we live in or the world that we live in, legally, there are certain things that would be easy to do if I was legally connected to you, where I wouldn't have to go through all these hoops and loops to prove that I have been your lifelong partner for 35 years because I don't have a marriage license. It would just be easier to get through those things. I would have certain tax benefits or I would have a certain say so in certain things in your life because I have a legal marriage to you. So I think it is very, very beneficial from that perspective. And I think it's also very beneficial if you want to have a spiritual relationship, like you have a spiritual relationship with your God. If your God is saying that marriage is the proper way, that is the way to be without sin, and your goal is to go to heaven if you're a Christian, then that's just something that you would need to make a decision to do so that you're not against God's will. So I really understand it on both sides, but I also wildly respect people who say, it just doesn't work for me. I don't want that. I don't want this person to have legal say so over my life when I get to the end of my life. I want to do that, or I want my mother to do that, or I want to designate a whole other person to do it. I also understand people that are like, God gonna love me anyway. And if this is the sin because I'm with this man and I'm sleeping with him and we have kids together, then I'm gonna just have to deal with him. I'm gonna just face him when I face him. So I get it, but I feel like I'm so torn when it comes to that. I know what I want for me, but I also really don't look down on people who just don't find it necessary.
No, I don't. My baseline is I don't care what people do. Like, that's up to you. I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. I didn't go to law school. I'm not a judge. So that's not my job. And I have never served on the jury. So I ain't the jury, and especially ain't the jury of your life.
Right. Right.
So it ain't my decision to judge you, tell you where you're going to go. If this happen or don't happen, I don't care. That's up to you. And you got to deal with whatever things that come with that, with the different choices that you're making. I just feel like from my experience, like what I've seen from people, if you take a certain approach, that some things, give you a path of least resistance. And it's up to you to decide what you ultimately want to do. But the whole spiritual aspect is always interesting. But again, I go back to the same thing. It's like, I made my decisions based off of how I feel. You can make your decisions based off of how you feel. And I'm not here to judge you or to tell you that this is wrong or this is right.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do think that if somebody is saying, I don't want to get married, they're fearful of something. I don't, that's my take on it. Okay. And I don't care if you're fearful. You can choose. I really don't care. But if you like, I don't want to get married, you're fearful. And I think that you can determine what you're fearful of. You may not believe it, but you are. Because regardless of all the government, this is just a piece of paper about a government. It's the ultimate commitment in a relationship to somebody that you could make.
Well, can you have that commitment without getting legally married?
No.
Okay.
You can have the commitment, but the ultimate commitment, I'm saying, is that's the ultimate. Because again, we said it, you could be with somebody 11 years. On paper, there's literally nothing to prove that you guys were truly together. Versus pictures, maybe relate people telling, like, but there's nothing to truly say we are together by the world standards, by everything. Like, this is the person that I'm with. So if you don't want to do that, you're fearful of something, whatever it may be. I don't know what it is, and I don't judge you for not doing that. But you're fearful of something. But having marriage is the ultimate commitment. If you go into business with somebody, what you gonna do? You just gonna say, we're good, let's shake on it. Like, no, you're gonna sign a contract. Why? Because that is the ultimate way to enforce that this is a real thing and somebody can't renege. So if you don't want to get married to somebody else, fine, it's up to you. But marriage is the ultimate sign of a commitment to somebody, because it's you both choosing that we are declaring both in front of our friends and family to God, but also to a body that can hold us accountable for anything wrong that we're doing. That this is what we ultimately want to do. Because when you leave a situation not being married, there are some prices to pay, but none enforceable. But when you leave a situation when you are married, there are enforceable government things that force you to do certain things or hold you accountable to certain things. There are reasons that there are lawyers who cover divorce because it's actually something that is tangible, that's something that's real, that's something that you both contractually, and that's the ultimate commitment. Basically, people are like, I'll be with you, but I ain't wanting to sign the contract to say I'm with you. That's essentially what it is. That tells me you're fearful of something.
And you could be fearful of all the things, like you said, that enforceable That if the
I'm
fact
not
that
judging you for being fearful. All I'm just saying is that if you don't want to take that
Yeah.
step, you're fearful of something.
Yeah.
People act like they're not. It's like, no, this just, no, you're fearful of something.
Yeah, you don't want
It's something that's like,
yeah.
it just makes me nervous to be tied.
And it could be that you saw a marriage in a bad light. It could be so many things. It could be that you've been married before and that divorce was crazy and you like, nah, I don't want that just in case this doesn't work out. I want to just be able to be like, well, see ya. I don't have to hire an attorney. I don't have to break down no paperwork. I don't want to have to do any of that. I just want us to pick up what you had while you was here and see you later and walk away from it. So like you said, I don't judge people. I understand it. And I truly, truly want marriage. And in this scenario, interestingly enough, both of them want marriage. Both of them want to be married. Now, she did say one of the things that I didn't read, but was in the original scenario, was that she had commitment issues. While they have been dealing with each other for 2 years, they have only recently decided to be an item. That just happened as of today, 4 months ago. They have only been exclusive for about 4 months, but they had this friends with benefits, talking every day, very communicative, very into each other, very loving to each other relationship for all this time, but it did not have the pre-commitment, not the ultimate commitment. I'm gonna call it the pre-commitment. They have only been in the boyfriend-girlfriend stage for just a few months, but they both want marriage.
It tracks.
It tracks.
I told you she's scared of something. She already said she had commitment issues. Now with the boyfriend presented this option,
Yes,
she's fearful of something.
Yes, and I will say, it sounds like, man, it just seemed like it just all happened so fast. Like, you decided to finally commit and that felt good and great. And then a month later, you're pregnant, which is a whole different commitment. Now you're committed to parenting and committed to being a parent to the child that is not here yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a swift way, now it's like, let's get married because you're pregnant. Something that was not already on the table. They weren't talking about getting married in the next 2 months or next 3 months or next 6 months. She's not engaged to him. It wasn't even about to happen. So I'm really thrown off by this need to just rush. I actually understand the parent pressure because parents come from a different generation and they tend to think that marriage is the end all be all. And I don't disagree with you that it is a high commitment. But if it's not a commitment that you were already about to make, why now that I'm carrying your child, do we need to do it before this baby comes into the world? What is going to happen if we don't do that?
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing that I made different from people is that I feel like it's the ultimate commitment. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you do it right, it's the best path to take.
Yeah.
For you and your family. But I also think it's something that you shouldn't enter into lightly.
No.
It's not something you just enter into with somebody just because they're having your child.
Right.
It's not something you enter into with somebody just because of some future benefit you feel like they could have for you. Mm-hmm. How it could, back in the day, it used to be how to elevate your family and your family name, like all that stuff. Nah,
it's not
something that
anymore.
You should go into lightly. And I situations like this are so interesting because number one, I think that on the boyfriend side of things, mm-hmm. First, I feel bad. I understand his family and where they come from because obviously I grew up in the church and my parents didn't do that with Bree and I necessarily and say like, I'll disown you or basically anything like that. That's crazy. But, they wanted me and Bree to live separately. Mm-hmm. And they even offered at one point, was like, hey, I'm thinking about it. We want to say that we think you guys should, and you could stay at the house, but it's ultimately your decision. And I elected not to. Mm-hmm. They didn't love me any less, change. They just offered it. Who knows? It could be their conscience with the God they serve, mm-hmm. which is the same God, but mm-hmm. That them saying something, they had to at least present it or at least say it or at least, for them to feel good about, everything that they go through and whatnot. So I commend them for that and I'm fine with that. But they didn't have this thing to like, oh, I want to disown you. But the thing that I realized too is that when people say things sometimes to get you to think how they think mm-hmm. or do what you want them to do First, sometimes when the stakes aren't high. Number one, baby ain't here yet.
Right.
Talking about I ain't gonna support the baby right now, 2 months in. What does that mean? Like that, you just saying that. Like, and sometimes people do mean it, but sometimes a lot of times people don't mean that. They're just trying to say that to you to push you to do something.
Yeah.
But if the baby were to come and you're dealing with stuff and the baby, they'll be all over there
I mean, you
with
hope,
the baby.
yes.
I mean, you hope, but I'm saying
Yeah.
that sometimes people do that. Like Bree has done that to me on a smaller scale before. It's like, I have some jeans that I wear all the time. If she don't want me to wear them jeans that day, I hate them jeans. I hate when you wear them jeans. Like, I wear these all the time. But because of that moment, she doesn't want me to do it. It becomes more dramatic. And it's like, I can't stand when you wear them things. Like I've been wanting to throw them things away for a while, but then I wore them like 10 other times. And it's like not a word. Oh yeah, you look good, babe. But sometimes people do that. And I think in this situation, it can be true, but other situations, like, especially because there are no stakes right now, baby ain't here yet. They could say all that stuff and be like, yeah, we ain't gonna take care of the baby. You be taking you out the will, all that stuff. Cause I think that was in there as well. It's like
that they were gonna take him. And I also think outside of spirituality, while she didn't talk about it, he said that this would set his family back by 2 generations if they proceeded with having this baby without marriage. To me, that gives a cultural reference, that there are certain cultures that feel like if you create a family or have a child and you do that out of wedlock, that it is cursing your family name or it's cursing your family in some sort of way. And these to me are very antiquated, and again, it's no disrespect. I'm not saying that you should deviate away from whatever your cultural teachings are if you truly want to be in alignment with them. But for this particular gentleman, if you wanted to be in alignment with cultural teachings, you probably should not have been having unprotected sex with your girlfriend.
Well, he said
you probably shouldn't have created a baby if this was that important to you. If it was so important for you to be a husband first, you shouldn't be participating in behaviors that will make you a father first. You should be choosing better. So it's just a very convenient and, to me, manipulative way to try to get what you want out of a situation that you didn't even seem to feel this way about until your parents have just put all of this extreme amount of pressure on you. And I commend you for not necessarily standing up to your parents, but they express something that they would prefer that you do, which was not live with Bree outside of marriage. And you were like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And I think when you think about spirituality from a Christian perspective, you learn all the time that God is your personal savior and you have to have a personal relationship with him. So why then do so many other people want to take on this responsibility to help you have a relationship with God and help you to stay in his good grace? It's a personal relationship. So all you can do is tell me what you understand about it. When you say your God, like your understanding of what God will want from me, but you can't control that. And if this is not okay, God will talk to me about that. If this is not okay, God will deal with me about that. He's not going to do anything to you based on my decisions. Anything that I'm doing wrong, I'm going to have to answer for them. Not you, mom, not you, dad. I have to do what I need to do and what really I want to do. I'm so I don't even know. I'm trying to be sensitive of how I say this, but I'm actually very disgusted at his behavior towards her. Very much so. I don't think him now saying, I'm not going to be there for you at all. Like, I'm not going to be there for you while you're pregnant with my child is just really messed up. And while we can say nothing is at stake because the kid isn't here, my health is that.
I was more talking about the parents saying that to him.
I got you.
I was more, not him saying that to her.
Yeah.
More the parents saying that to him.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't, I don't know if this was in the condensed version, but basically they're saying that they wouldn't be around. They would take him out the will, all that stuff. That his parents saying that, because I feel like that's where it starts. That's their commentary shifted his mindset, which then shifted his commentary to her. Yeah. So it started with them. And I'm not surprised that was the situation. That's what they did to him. They said that they was going to disown him, all this stuff. So he, in return, said that to her.
Girl?
So I don't think that that's right what he said to her. But I think it starts with the parents, that he has to come to an understanding that this is his life. This is his relationship. I mean, if I was him, I don't know if this is getting to the end too fast, but I'll look at the parents and I'll be like, listen, I love you guys both.
Yeah.
I've been in a relationship with Anonymous for a while, and we have already discussed like what marriage could look like, what having a future could look like.
Yeah.
But honestly, you know, with the baby coming now, like Anonymous is not ready to take on both of those things at one time. And I think that you guys would regret if once we get married 2-3 years down the road, that you weren't in your grandchild's life from the beginning, from age 1, age 2, age 3. You miss these things because you're forcing me and wanting me to force the woman that I'm with to get married at a time she does not want to get married.
Right.
And I don't want my relationship to be built on this, that this is where we're starting. This could start with resentment, which doesn't ultimately last in relationships. And then ultimately, you know what? Even with that, I'm your child. And guess what? I don't know if you truly disown me, truly don't talk to me, truly cut me off, how I'm going to feel if that's the case. And you really want to lose me in this relationship based off of this feeling that you have, you can be disappointed. You could be upset. Yeah. Heck, I wasn't trying to have a baby right now. I get it. Like,
I didn't want this for myself.
I didn't want this for myself. I understand. But I'm not doing this with some random person. Right. I'm not doing this with somebody who I haven't looked at or wanted a future with at some point. So at this point, you know, being an adult and seeing what I want for my life, I will not force a woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with into marriage when she tells me she's not ready to do that while she's carrying our child. Yeah. If you understand that, I would appreciate it. If not, I get it, but just know that there's the outcome of your decisions and what can come from that. Like that, and that's real. Like that's real. And that's the way I looked at it. Like that's why I said I understand the situation. My parents weren't like this to where it's like I'll disown you or anything. Yeah. But like I understand the situation of there's a point to where you go from a boy to a man, and it comes to a point to where you leave from being your mom's son to being somebody else's husband, and you're gonna have to make that decision of who. This your wife, and I understand your mom and stuff, they brought you up, but you got to start making decisions for yourself. Your mom has a husband. Yeah. That's her husband. You about to have, if that's what you want, like this is the woman that you want to build with, that's going to be your wife. Like you have a family now that you have to take care of, and you got to make decisions. And guess what? Not just your parents, there's going to be other things in your life that's going to try to influence you to do this or to do that or to do this or to do that as a man with your family. And I need to know that you just ain't going to fold off of something you don't want to do just because somebody's telling you it's the best idea to do it.
Preach. That's it. That is it. I you know, just to give context, because again, people didn't see the full story, but I mean, he just went from being exactly what you just said, because that was the initial conversation, baby, it's okay. Because she said, like, when she found out she was pregnant, she cried to him. Like, she was very upset. Like, almost as if like, I'm sorry, like, I don't want this. Like, we just got going into this thing and now we're about to be parents. And he's reassuring her that it's going to be okay, babe. Like, we can do this. It's okay. We weren't prepared for this. But she said he completely comforted her and said, we will have a family together. You're not going to be my baby mama. I'm not going to be your baby daddy. We are going to be a couple, and we will have this child, and we will eventually get married. He came in exactly what you're talking about, how you're talking about it. But then through conversations with his parents, he just almost became an entirely different human being, came back saying, she's like, this feels like a patriarchy. He's like, it is. And if I don't marry you, you're not an honorable woman. Like, where did the man who I was in a relationship with for this amount where did he go? Like, how did you go so extreme? Like, are your parents going to kill you? Like, it feels like so dramatic. Like, it just feels, and I get it. Like you said, this threat, this, oh, I'm gonna take you off the wheel and all of these things. But at this point, I would feel so turned off by him. Like, I would be so hurt that I don't even know that I would want to now even be in a relationship with you. Like, how did we get here? Like, you are harming me in a way that is so extreme. I feel like if maybe he was already giving off these signs, it wouldn't feel so much like a blow. But like how she explained all of this, I'm like, wow. And she did give context that their family dynamics, which I'm going to read that here, that she's the middle child of 5. They all have the same mom and dad, but her parents got married when she was 10 and they've been together her entire life. So she understands marriage, she understands the importance of it, and she actually does want it. He, on the other hand, his parents got pregnant first with him and got married while mom was pregnant. So you are literally trying to force us to do what you did with me just because you got pregnant. And granted, his parents are still together, like they're not apart or anything, but it's like, wow, man, I would just be like, he blocked her, like blocked her phone number, won't accept her calls, won't accept communication with her, wrote a letter to her dad and dropped it off to him and said, if she needs anything during this pregnancy, she can contact my parents, but she can't communicate with me. I'm sorry. I don't even, I would be, I mean, like, commending her for even being able to write this, I would be beside myself.
Yeah.
Like, my family would be so far up his ass. It would be crazy. Like, brothers, mother, like, sir, excuse me?
That's why I said, like, it's so hard for me in this situation to not, like, I want to talk to the guy, right? Mm-hmm. It's just, as a man, mm-hmm. understanding responsibilities, seeing people that have gone through this, it's just hard to sit back and mm-hmm. address her in any way, because mm-hmm. it's like, dude, come on. Like, come on. It don't even make any sense. And then the fact that it's like you are so heavily influenced by your parents mm-hmm. at this stage, like, I could see if this was always how you lived. And if this was always how you lived, you probably wouldn't have been with that woman anyway, because she wouldn't have been aligned with that. Mm-hmm. But even with what you said with the parents thing, that's often how it happens, especially like when dealing with church folk, which Bria and I dealt with so much when it comes with the living for marriage, waiting for marriage thing and all that. But living together is that people put their own, they're upset mm-hmm. that they had to make the sacrifices, right? Yeah. So they want you to make the sacrifices too. And it's like, you know, just because you made it and you didn't want to do it and you know you were forced to make it, mm-hmm. why are you upset mm-hmm. that, you know, I am now in a position where I don't have to make that? You should be like, oh, be free, do what you want. It's kind of like the people who are mad that student loans are being forgiven. I had to pay mine, so you should. It's like, who cares if the people next don't gotta pay it? Like, great for you. Like, I don't want you to suffer the same things I suffered just because I suffered it. Mm-hmm. It's like, mm-hmm. you know, do your thing and do what's best for you. But I'm upset that he's so heavily influenced by his parents and that they have that much that much just over him mm-hmm. to make him think that this is something that's okay and change his mindset like 360, you know, compared to what it was before. So I feel bad about that.
I do too. And I don't think he realizes it, and I don't think his parents realize it, but this is in fact a form of emotional abuse. It's basically called manipulation by way of abandonment, mm-hmm. where essentially you try to twist someone into doing something for you by way of telling them or actually abandoning them. Like, if you don't do this, I will walk away. I will leave you. Same thing with her. You basically telling her, I don't want anything to do with you while you're pregnant unless you agree to marry me. Oh, well, that surely is going to make me want to marry you. That makes me want to run right on down the aisle and become your wife. The fact that you would threaten to leave me with this baby by myself while it's in my body, which is still very important for you to be supportive and here for me, going to appointments with me, helping build with me, if it's putting a nursery together, if it's figuring out what we're going to do when the baby gets here, how we're going to manage that. You threatening to leave me during such an important time in my life absolutely makes me just totally want to marry you. It's perfect. Like, my heart really goes out to her, and I really hope that this guy, her I don't even know, I guess her unborn child's dad, because they're not together at this moment. I really hope that someone can get to him. I really hope that someone with some sense can get to him. I hope that perhaps maybe he even listens to the show and he'll know through this episode that this is about him. But you are making a grave mistake that is going to, one, now you've emotionally damaged your girlfriend. You put her through a traumatic experience while your child is inside of her body, which could potentially result in negative things. And we're going to pray that that's not going to happen. But too much stress over a woman's body in the first trimester of pregnancy can cause a loss of pregnancy. Yeah. So you're putting her through that. And now I'm looking at you crazy like, I don't even know if I want you no more. So now the exact thing we said we didn't want, to be baby mama and baby daddy, quote unquote, to each other, is what we're going to have to be, because you didn't want to be an independent thinker. And like you said, grow from a boy to a man.
Yeah. I think so. The way I look at this is I always look at things from a lens of empathy. And giving people grace and understanding things and trying to get the full picture of the whole situation. So first, what he did was wrong. It's not right, and it hurts. 100%.
Yep.
I think a lot of times, rarely, when you're in a relationship with somebody and you see somebody behave a certain way, can you clearly see the link from parent to child. And in this situation, it's like
so clear.
Yes. So clear. And I think that the cliche is very true, that hurt people. And I think that, you know, his parents were probably hurt from a situation that they were forced into at one point. And they hurt their son in the sense of forcing them to be able to, or forcing him to make this decision with you and him in this situation. And that ultimately, because he's hurt, he hurt you.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a real situation. But I think that because this is the father of your child, because it's somebody that seemed like you loved at one point, saw a future with, wanted a relationship with, that seeing that connection of his parents and knowing that situation, not saying that the love or that the grace has to mean staying with that person through everything, but understanding and give the hope that there is an opportunity for him to come out of that. Because when things like that are bred in you, it is very hard to overcome it.
Yeah.
And I think it takes inflection points and moments like this to truly test where you are with things. And I think it's an internal battle that he had to figure out within himself in order to get past this. I guarantee you, if it wasn't this, it was going to be something else.
Yep.
And he needs to get past this if y'all want to see any future together.
Yeah.
So however he deals with this, whether it's distancing himself from you, and he knows internally that's not ultimately what he wants.
Right.
And the thing is that if you fold into that, like his mom did or his dad did when they did it, then the problem gets band-aided and patched up, and it's never actually truly solved. We never get to the symptom or the core. Or the real issue is never dealt with. But in this situation, if as hurtful as it is, I think if you're just essentially calling on the bluff and be like, okay, like if that's your decision, I'm really upset about it. I don't know where this came from. But you know, if you're saying that the way we have to start our marriage is you saying you're not going to be a part of my life or our child's life unless I marry you within these 9 months, then I can't do that. And I'm sorry, I love you. And I hope that you can see that your parents are trying to force you to do something that is not right. And let him sit with that.
Yeah.
And because he's going to have to be the one that confronts himself and confronts his parents about what he wants to do with his life. It ain't nothing you can say. Ain't nothing you're going to be able to do. It's something that internally he has to do to battle within himself. Because he has the feeling that he doesn't want to, because he said it to you before.
Yep.
And now he's trying to figure it out now after his parents have probably guilted him and made him feel horrible and threatening to abandon and all this. He has to deal with that internally. And that has nothing to do with you, and ain't nothing you can do to help him push through that situation.
Yeah.
But this situation is forcing him to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And listen, if he chooses his parents and that way of thinking over you, guess what? You dodge a bullet.
A big one.
A big
I mean,
one.
you'll have to figure out how to co-parent
with him. But as far as a relationship, you dodged a bullet from that perspective, as somebody telling you that they rule over you and the only way it could work is if they're in charge and you listen to what they say. Yeah, you dodged a bullet if that's where he ultimately lands after this.
Yeah.
But I hope, especially given what he has said to you before, and even I think in the thing that said they got together and talked to his parents and sat down and had a conversation with them.
Yeah, and the parents said that they would be there if
they were married.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, like, I feel like something's in him still to where he does care about you enough to like stand up, knowing his parents are the way that they are, to try to have a conversation, try to find a middle ground. Like, I just think it's going to be this journey that he internally is just going to have to figure out. And it's going to be tough for him. And it might be hard for him. It might be in him walking away from his parents to choose his family, which that's a hard decision.
Yeah.
Like, you always think of Prince Harry, right?
Yes,
like,
indeed.
That man gave up the castle.
Yes, he did.
The notoriety for his wife. That's not easy, man.
No.
That's not easy at all.
And it's not a decision that, any adult child should be forced to make. And so, just to wrap up my feelings on it, the last thing I will say is just to the parents out there, your children become adults, and even before they become adults, it's really not your job to control them. It is your job to support them in being the best version of whoever God wants them to be and whoever they want to be. If they are not doing anything harmful, if their ultimate goal in life when they grow up is not to be someone harmful, someone that is hurting people, if they're not sitting at home trying to devise a plan on how to be a terrorist or something like that, they are just making decisions that you would not have made. It is not your job to browbeat them or pressure them into doing their life the way that you think that they should do their life. That's just simply not fair. You can, of course, communicate what you would prefer to see, but that's as far as it goes. And I think for adult children, it is necessary that when you find yourself in these situations, that you communicate your boundaries even to your parents. Like, I'm not a child anymore. Your say so, quote unquote, your thoughts matter to me, but you don't get to dictate to me what I have to do with my life. It is not fair. And to say that you would take your relationship away from me, or that you would take legacy away from me, or that you would take me out of your will is abuse. That is abuse. That is manipulation by way of abandonment, which is a form of emotional abuse. And I'm not saying this conversation would be easy with your parents, but what I'm saying is it is necessary. And to the parents out there, please just stop. Like, no matter what this is, because this can cover a lot of topics, not just marriage. It can cover sexuality. It can cover gender. It can cover where the adult child is going to live. It can cover that they don't want to be of the same religion that they grew up in. Y'all grew up Catholic. They want to be Muslim. It can cover so many things. It is not your job to force them to be what you want them to be. It is your job to support them being who they want to be, as long as who they want to be is not harmful to anybody else.
The reality from being a kid who was parented, I can speak to this, is that your most important job, I think, as a parent, you of course guide your child, but it's truly setting a solid foundation for which they live their life on. And I would say that is one thing that my parents did an amazing job of. Not to say I didn't have my fun. You met me at my times I was crazy and getting down and doing everything. But where'd I come back to? Like, when I was ready to get married, when I came back to the foundation that was built within me. And that happens during those ages of, like when you're
learning,
discovery, stuff like that. You ain't still parenting your kid at 30. That ain't parenting. The parenting happened already. Like, whatever foundation you set in them, whatever, like, even though my parents treated me or built a foundation of God in me, right? Part of which I talk about in my real life scenario, part of my foundation was being an independent and open thinker as well. And they opened that door for me to do that, right? So my mom grew up in a place where my grandmother, don't question me, don't say nothing. If you do something, you get the switch like that. My mom didn't raise me in that environment. So although I had Christ in my foundation, I also had independent thinking as part of my foundation too. So although they said, I want you to do this because the Bible, blah, 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 me as part of my foundation being a critical independent thinker was just like, no, just thinking about everything, how it's aligned. I know I'm gonna marry this woman, so I'm not even concerned that we getting married. It's just right now it doesn't make sense in what we're ultimately trying to do. We're just trying to get a head start on our relationship by living together and saving money and working a business together. So I already know what I thought through it all, but that's the foundation that my parents put in me to be an independent thinker while also still having that relationship with God. And I think that parents have to understand that you put a foundation in your kid. Now you trying to dig up the foundation at 25, 30, but you already put it in there. Even if you're trying to do better and trying to be better as better parents now that you're older and you maybe matured some more, like a lot of times you set something in there already. And a lot of times people revert back to that foundation that was in them.
Yes.
So yeah, I agree with you.
I totally cling to my mother's teachings today more than I did, more than ever. Yeah, totally. So, I mean, as long as you do a good job at creating a good foundation, again, even if your adult child decides to do their life gently differently or very differently, again, as long as their choices don't hurt anyone and don't hurt themselves and don't hurt you, it's okay.
But that's what I said. The foundation is so important because we all are going to explore. I don't care. I know the most Christianist Christians got to college, even if it was one semester or a few months, they had a crazy moment because it's like, although they had that foundation, it's like you got to be okay with your kids making their own choices and mistakes. And it's like, as long as I know and I trust that I built a good foundation in them, they're going to get back. They're going to get back at some point. And if they ask for assistance, I'll help them. If they ask for guidance, if they ask for, and I think that that's also something important too, is that if you are treating your child as an adult, they come to you more as an adult.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's like if you treat them as your decisions are your decisions, because even when I first came to my stepdad and told him like Bree and I are living together, I thought he was going to be upset. He was like, I mean, you're a man. Like
you're not, I'm not giving you permission.
Whether I agree or not,
you're a man.
That's up to you. You're a man. You evaluate all the things. You make the decision that you make, but that's your decision to make. What I feel, I could tell you what I feel, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. And that opens the door for when I'm going through things in my life to have a real conversation and be like, I'm going through this and I'm struggling with this as a man in my relationship. How do I deal with this? That opens the door. But if you're like so close-minded with your kids, when they dealing with something, they ain't gonna come to you.
Right.
You want to be able to, at that adult age, you want to still be able to provide guidance because you do know them better than pretty much anybody that knows them. And you have age on them and understand how things go as people progress in life. So you still want to be able to guide, but if you don't treat them like an adult, they're not going to come to you for guidance.
You're not safe. You can't be trusted.
You can't be trusted. You're biased. You're closed-minded. So I'm not going to talk to you about my problems. Judgmental. So I already know if I come to you, what I'm getting. So I would just rather not.
Yeah. Yeah. and that is not a place you want to be in with your parent ever. So I really hope, one, to the real lover, just wishing you just guidance and peacefulness through this pregnancy. And that, like Dre said, hopefully someone can get to him in order to at least get him to kind of go back to where he was originally thinking so that he can do the work that you talked about on himself to start to really break down and understand, like, I'm a man, I have to make my own decisions, and I may have to have a very difficult conversation with my parents, but I don't want to lose time on building a family with a woman that I really love, that up until this moment, we were fine. We made a decision. We had sex, we got pregnant, and we are okay with that. And we are okay with bringing this baby into this world unmarried right now. And when we're ready for marriage, we will do it in clear minds. We will do it because we know that that's what's best for each other and ultimately best for our new baby. So I really wish the best for both of you, but more than anything, I just want you to be in a good headspace while you bring a baby into this world, because that's a pretty big deal. Yeah. And if y'all happen to be listeners too, I'm punching at the camera. Y'all can't, those that listen, you can't see me. But wishing you all the best in this situation. If you want to write in.
I got one more
thing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's all good. No, I would just say that I know that you asked what you should do. And a lot of situations we always be like, oh, situation ended. Well, I understand that's the father of your child. Yeah. So it's a lot deeper than that. I think if he wrote a letter to your dad or something like that, I think that could be a helpful exercise. And if you could find a way to make sure he receives it, not his parents or anything like that, who seemingly are trying to control him. But like, if you're able to really put your thoughts into words and really think about it, like you can write your own letter to him specifically, just expressing how you feel and not being super accusatory of him. And like, you could tell him how the things he did hurt you. Yeah. But just letting him know how you feel what you would love and envision for your relationship moving forward and how things could be. I think that could be a really helpful exercise to get the things from your head out, out of your mind. And then, like I said, it could be more thought out, and they give it a place for him to read it, sit with it, because saying something is one thing, but seeing something and being able to read it again and again and look at it, it's like that could sit with him and really impact him. So I think that could be a great exercise if he doesn't want to talk to you or is blocking you.
I agree. Really great advice. Very, very great advice. Well, if you want to write in, you know where to find us, relationshiprestored.com. Click the contact button and write into the show or any of the shows on the network. Follow me on social at Ronnie Cakes.
At SJ Smith.
And at Relationship Restored. And make sure you go, if you aren't on TikTok, head over there. We got some good stuff over there too. We'll see you next week.
Peace.